Godzilla is now in New York City.
Monster 01 and 02, commence the attack.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to Stomp This Way. Andrew, how are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine. How are you doing?
Well, I had a bit of a rough weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It was a long Sunday, but we're recording this on Monday. I'm feeling better, and I'm ready to tackle the week that's ahead. I had pre-ordered tickets to Demon Slayer because they were selling fast, and it did turn out to be a sold-out show. But I came down ill Sunday, so I had to give my I bought tickets for me and Andrew. I had to give my ticket to Adam, our other brother, because I didn't feel like going. And so now I have not yet seen Demon Slayer, and I'm sad about it.
But I saw it, and I recommend.
Andrew says 10 out of 10 recommend.
10 out of 10 recommend.
But yeah, so I got to catch that this weekend. But yeah, so not completely lost weekend. The Sooners won and the Packers won on Thursday night. So football went well this weekend, which is, going to determine my mood for the next 4 to 5 months. But yeah, anyway, we're here to review a movie. We're through all the Shinpei Hayashida movies and the Ultraman movies for now. And we're getting back to some different content, although this is another SRS Cinema release, but they're just distributing this movie. This is more of, our kind of movie. It's a 60s era Dai studio movie. And that movie is The Whale God. Or, if you go by the direct Japanese translation, Killer Whale.
Killer Whale.
Killer Whale. So, yeah. I think when they brought it over to the States, they probably were like, well, and also the movie, at least the subtitles they say whale god a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were saying whale god or killer whale in Japanese, but when they brought it over to the States, if you call the movie Killer Whale, people are going to think of a killer whale like an orca.
Yeah.
So they were like, well, we got to call it something else. So call it the whale god. Because it's not an orca. It is, I don't think they ever say this in the movie, but it is a right whale. A very large right whale. But anyway. Yeah, I was excited about this. I had honestly never heard of this movie until a few months ago when I saw that SRS Cinema had put it out. And I did a little bit of research into it. It's like, oh, this actually sounds pretty interesting. So
not just one of those regular SRS.
Not
films.
one of those like fan films that SRS Cinema picks up and puts out, but like an actual Japanese studio movie. So I was excited for that. Yeah. You want some production trivia?
Sure.
Well, believe it or not, this is actually based off a novel, not called Moby Dick, although it is clearly just a retelling of Moby Dick. But there was actually retold via novel first, a novel by Koichiro Ino, which won the Akutagawa Prize, some kind of literary prize there in Japan. I would have read the book, but I could not find any English translations available. So instead, you're going to have to deal with my vague memories of the actual original source material, Moby Dick, which I read when I was like in middle school. Anyway.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So as I said before, the titular whale is a right whale. So, a right whale. Then in Moby Dick, it was a sperm whale. But this is a right whale. which is also a big whale.
Yeah. They're not small.
Not as big as usually I think they portray them in this movie, but
they even said this is the biggest whale they've ever caught.
They said twice the size of a normal right whale.
Mm-hmm.
It was originally assigned to director Yonesabaru Tsukiji, who was a co-designer of Gamera, before it was reassigned to the director we'll talk about here in a second. This was produced by Daiei, of course, the studio I think we most know for Gamera, but was big into like period pieces and samurai movies and that kind of thing. But they were struggling financially when the movie was filmed. So it was filmed on black and white film stock, although by that point in time, early 60s, a lot of movies were starting to come out in color. They did turn this into a 3-issue manga in 1979. This was Daiei's first film to feature, quote unquote, a rampaging giant monster. They call it a tokusatsu movie in a lot of things that I read. I mean, we can talk about it. I don't think it's really a kaiju movie. Like I said, it's really just kind of a whale movie, like Moby Dick.
A whaling movie.
But and we'll talk about it. The movie is not even really about the whale. It's about the generational trauma caused by the whale, and then the whale shows up at like the very beginning and the very end. But anyway, but it is really considered Daiei's first monster movie. And you could reason that the success of this film led in part to Daiei investing in kaiju movies such as Gamera, which would come, I believe, 3 years later.
See, if we didn't have this movie, we wouldn't have Gamera.
You could draw that line. If this movie wouldn't have come out,
wouldn't have
been considered a success, then we wouldn't have got Gamera. So, thank you, well, God.
Yay!
Box office. I don't know how well it did. I didn't find any box office information other than this was released on July 15th of 1962. So a long time ago.
A lot of these movies now that we've been recording don't have any box.
Well, these are pretty obscure movies. This movie did not have an official international release, or at least here in the States, until SRS Cinema got a hold of it, like, a year ago or whatever.
Yeah.
So this one is it's kind of surprising because, we'll talk about it, the quality of the movie, but it's not a bad movie.
No.
I'm surprised that it's taken this long for it to kind of be discovered. Like a lot of times, like you'll see SRS Cinema release these quote unquote lost movies, and they're lost. They were lost for a reason.
They weren't.
Maybe one of these Korean movies we got coming up pretty soon it might have probably lost for a reason.
They weren't supposed to be found.
Yeah, not supposed to be found. But this one's actually like in terms of production quality, we'll talk about it. A pretty well put together movie. And speaking of that, we'll talk about cast and crew here in a little bit. There's some familiar names in that cast and crew. But before we do that, we've got to listen to a trailer. I have pulled up the SRS Cinema release trailer.
Maybe it won't be all sound, but it probably will be only music.
I haven't watched it, so I don't know if it's only music or if there is some dialogue.
A lot of SRS Cinema trailers are only music.
Yeah. Those Shinpei Hayashio ones were for sure. But anyway, here's the trailer, and we will see you in a bit.
7つの海に荒れ狂うマシンのごとき巨芸に命を懸けた若者たちの豪快壮絶の物語。風来坊で海の荒くれ男紀州、肉親を巨芸に倒されて復讐の鬼と化した若者シャキ、巨芸に疲れたシャキを慕う浜の娘エイ、可憐なシャキの妹ユキ、ユキの恋人カスケ、クジラ神を仕留めた者に娘と名跡をやると叱咤するクジラ名士、クジラ名士の娘トヨ。彼女の美貌と肉体はクジラ神を倒した男にかけられた。
俺の相手はクジラ神だ。日本中のクジラ取りがクジラ神をば恐れおののき、クジラ神の姿ば見れば網を巻いて逃げ戻る始末じゃ。クジラ取りの名誉はどこにある。お
前が好きじゃ。
うちには分かった。あんた死ぬ覚悟ばしとる。どうせ死ぬ身やからと思ってうちを。
ええ、好きじゃ。
一撃必殺の森が飛ぶ。恋と名誉をかけて虚芸に挑戦する若者2人。激しいアクションとサスペンスの連続また連続。果たしてクジラ神を仕留めるのはシャキか奇襲か。全映画界の話題をこの一辺に集めた豪快無比の海の大活劇編。
All right. That was a pretty lengthy trailer. That was almost 3 minutes long.
And it, in fact, did have
Dialogue.
Dialogue.
Yeah, it either they did a really good job of like recreating what an old Japanese style trailer, or I wonder if they just like found the original theatrical trailer and remastered it, because
Probably did that.
that was cut just like an old school Japanese trailer would have been. But anyway, so yeah, cast and crew. This was directed by Tokuzo Tanaka, written by Kanedo Shindo, who was a very respected Japanese director of the time. I think he directed that one movie, Children of Hiroshima, or whatever it's called. Music by our favorite Akira Ifukube, and effects by Chikara Komatsubara, and starring Kojiro Hongo, who was in several Gamera movies, Shintaro Katsu, Shiho Fujimura, Kyoko Inami, Takashi Shimura, who was also in several movies that we've reviewed, and Chikara Hashimoto. And the plot is as follows. In a small whaling village in 19th century Japan, the locals are obsessed with a giant right whale who has killed several generations of whalers. Shaki, who has lost his grandfather, father, and elder brother to the whale, is urged on by his mother to kill the beast. The village elder offers his wealth, title, and daughter to the man who can kill the whale. Shaki immediately volunteers, but a stranger who has just recently rolled into town also volunteers. This stranger, named Kishu, is a violent and angry man. Kishu ultimately rapes and impregnates Shaki's girlfriend, A. Shaki tells the village that the child, a boy, is his in order to save A's honor. Shaki swears to A that he has no interest in marrying the village elder's daughter and that he is only after the whale. In the end, the village men go out to face the right whale. After the whale is netted and harpooned, Kishu prematurely jumps on the creature and stabs it repeatedly. Kishu pays for the act with his life, but he weakens the whale enough so that Shaki can climb on the giant and finish the job. With his body shattered and death coming upon him, Shaki is returned to shore. He asks to be taken to the beach so he can look upon the severed head of the whale god before he dies. The village elder obliges, and Shaki reveals to A that Kishu sacrificed himself so that Shaki could kill the whale. He asks A to raise his son to be a strong whaler, and he imagines himself merging with the whale god as he peacefully passes away and credits roll. More or less?
More or less.
Is that the plot of the movie? More or less?
More or less.
Yeah, like I said, so this is obviously a sort of reimagining of Moby Dick from a 19th century Japanese perspective, which is a concept that I really like. And I think this movie does a pretty good job of giving that concept to us. But it does differ from Moby Dick in a lot of ways. One, Moby Dick, which I don't know if I've ever actually watched a film adaptation of Moby Dick, maybe one, but if you go back and read that novel, a lot of people who haven't read it don't realize that. Well, one, Moby Dick is half of it is the story that you kind of know is, the Captain Ahab obsessed with the whale and, chasing after this sperm whale ultimately to his downfall.
The white whale.
The white whale. But the other half of Moby Dick is just informational text on 18th century whaling, which is, and it's not like the first half and the second half. It's like interspersed, goes back and forth. Like you'll have a chapter that's dedicated to the plot of Moby Dick, and then the next chapter is just like informational, like textbook text on 18th century whaling practices.
And you're what is this?
When I first read it, or the one time I did read it was very jarring because I was like, did I get some kind of like extended version on my Kindle by accident? But no, that is the
back
book.
When you read on a Kindle.
Yeah, that was during Kindle, so that had to be middle school or early high school. But yeah, so but Moby Dick is about the journey. Most of that book takes place on the ship, on their journey as they chase this whale. This movie is different because it's not really about that journey, like the actual, like it's not an adventure movie where Moby Dick would be, where you're like on the ship, sailing the seas, hunting the whale. This movie is more, like I said, it's a drama. It's about the generational trauma that this whale has brought upon these people, and these people have kind of brought upon themselves. The whale shows up at the beginning, the first of the movie, the first, I don't know, whatever, 10 minutes or so. It's kind of a montage as this whale kills 3 generations of men in this family. The grandfather goes out one year, gets drowned by the whale, trying to harpoon it. Then the father goes out, I think like the following year, and gets killed by the whale. And then several years later, the kids are of age, and the eldest brother, he goes out
and gets killed by the
whale. And that's basically, like I said, the first opening montage of the movie. And you get the idea once that kind of montage is over and we get back to the island that this whole village is obsessed with this whale.
Yeah.
And maybe chief among them is the mother of the eldest of the 2 brothers that, are left behind after their grandfather and father have died. She is obsessed with the men in her family killing this whale.
Yeah.
Because I think she said that her father and her grandfather were also killed by the whale. And so she's really the one, like, it feels like early on urging her kids, like, you gotta go and kill this whale, even if it costs you your life. But there's a scene on the beach where the whole village is like obsessed with this whale, and they kind of get into this frenzy where they're like all screaming about, we have to kill the whale. And one of I don't know if she's like one that works in a brothel or whatever, she's like, I'll sleep with the man who kills with the whale. And then it all, they're all chanting and stuff, and the village elder, played by Takashi Shimura, who is of course a veteran actor. We know him as, oh gosh, what's his name in the original Godzilla movie? Professor Yamane.
Yeah.
In the original Godzilla movie, and he's been in several other Godzilla movies. He's of course been in several non-kaiju movies. He's been in several Akira Kurosawa movies. He's obviously
been around the block.
A great actor. But he plays the village elder, and he also is obsessed with the whale. And he offers to whichever villager is able to kill the whale
his land, his house, and his eldest daughter.
Yeah, his land, his wealth, his title, his name, and his eldest daughter, his only daughter, I think, for marriage. And so that kind of sets off our plot. And of course, our main and protagonist is Shockey. He is the younger brother of the family that we were talking about, who all got killed by the whale. And his mother is like, you've got to go kill this whale. And And he's into it too. He's also obsessed with the whale. Now I think maybe some of his psyche is probably warped by his mother being so obsessed with it, but
Oh, definitely.
and he is, he immediately volunteers, but there's this stranger who's rolled into town, and they call him Kishu because he's from Kishu, and he goes up to the village elder and is like, does this offer apply to strangers? And he's like, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
But I'll kill you if you approach me like that again. And so he also is gonna go try to kill the whale. But so that's the basic setup of the movie, and then the movie for the next hour plus is basically just kind of a drama about these people's lives. We have Kishu, and he's in the kind of the tavern causing trouble. Or actually, I guess one of the local villagers is always trying to fight him and telling him that Shaki deserves the first shot at the whale because of his history and whatever. And we see early on that Kishu is a very violent man because he gets into a fight with his drunk, and then he gets a log from the fire pit and is like burning this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get the idea he's very bad. And then with Shaki, we get, obviously he's portrayed as he's a good man, a good young man, but he is, to his fault, will be to his death at the end of the movie, obsessed with this whale. His mother is obsessed with this whale. And this movie, like I said, it's kind of about the generational trauma of, passing down your trauma from one generation to the next and your obsession. And in this particular case, it's their obsession with this whale. When, the easiest solution for anybody in this movie would just don't go hunting this whale. All your problems would go away.
Yeah.
But, it is a whaling village. Obviously, whaling was a big part of the Japanese culture and their economy.
Yeah.
Until, I guess today they're probably still engaged in some whaling practices. Much to
legal whaling practices.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, if in some seas it's still legal or not. They had that whole show on Animal Planet. What was it called? For the
whale hunters.
Was it called Whale Hunters? Where they would go out and harass whaling ships, and
something like whale hunters.
Yeah, something like that. And anyway,
Whale Wars.
Whale Wars. That's right. Yeah. I watched a few episodes of that. It was so good.
They had a whole South Park thing about that.
Yeah, they did have a whole South Park. And I was always like, if I was those Japanese whalers, I'd just run those people over. Like, what are they gonna do? Not that I support whaling. Obviously, it's a horrid practice, but you could consider a lot of things a horrid practice, I guess. But anyway, but obviously, whaling was a big part of their economy, especially in like these local fishing villages like this. And so, I can see the idea that this whale that they couldn't kill and had killed some of their own, they would become obsessed with, blah, 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 whatever. But anyway, so we follow Shaki around, and, he's struggling because as part of the deal, if he kills the whale, he's supposed to take his daughter, I believe her name was Toyo, of the village elder as his wife. But he already has a girlfriend, a poor village girl. And this girlfriend, or E-I, I think it's pronounced A, is jealous, of course. And she catches him a couple of times hanging out with Toyo, and she's jealous. But here's one thing that I don't remember the novel of Moby Dick having, rape.
Rape?
There's rape in this movie. Not graphic on scene, on screen, but Kishu one day catches A out and about and assaults her and rapes her. And she, a little while later, Shaki, I think there's this scene where he has a younger sister that lives with him and his mom.
Yeah.
And she has a boyfriend, and the boyfriend comes, and he's kind of the first voice of reason in this movie, where he comes to their house and confronts Shaki, and he's like, why are you people so obsessed with this whale? I don't want to be out on the sea. I'm going to go to the mainland and learn to be a doctor or whatever.
Yeah.
And of course, Shaki's very upset. Like, how can you abandon your people? And how could you say these things? And he's like, don't come back. But the boyfriend's like, I'll be back in a year to come get whatever her name is, the younger sister. And then later, Shaki is out and about, and he finds A on the ground, and she's gone into labor because she got pregnant from...
How long was this?
The time jumping. Yeah, the time, the passage of time in this movie is hard to track.
Yeah, because
she doesn't even look pregnant. So at first I thought she having like an early premature baby, but no, definitely not. But
How long did it take for that well to get
well,
there?
this is what and I don't know anything about whaling, obviously. From what I got from the movie, whaling is obviously seasonal. It seems like they whale in the winter time because, you know,
I thought it was the summertime.
no, I think they whale in the wintertime because it's the most of this movie takes place during the summertime because they're always complaining about how hot it is and everything. And then when it starts getting colder and they start wearing their jackets and their scarves is when they start talking about the whale god coming back. So anyway.
But then they're in no clothes going to.
But then they're naked whaling. I know it must be brutally cold, but I think that's just their outfit that I mean, you can't really, if you fall in the water with like a giant coat on, you're going to have a lot. It's not going to help you out any, but and you got to be limber and mobile to throw those harpoons and wrangle with those whales. But anyway, yeah. So he finds her, she's going into labor and she helps her out and she has the baby. And then again, a kind of a weird time jump. The baby is born and healthy, and we learn that he has told the village that he is the father.
Yeah.
And I think this is kind of the scene where we're supposed to really connect with Shaki because, you know, especially in this, even today, but especially in this time period in Japan, most men would not have raised a baby that wasn't theirs.
Not theirs.
And at this point, she hasn't even told him that she was raped before he told. So he doesn't even know that it was forced upon her. So the fact that he takes responsibility for the child and kind of saves A's honor by, you know, telling everyone it's his,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I think we're supposed to really like him as a character. And then we have the scene where at night where I was like, didn't she just have, I think they have sex. I'm like, didn't she just have a baby? How long has passed?
Yeah.
But apparently the baby doesn't look like a brand newborn, so it must have been a few weeks at least. But
A few, you know.
yeah, but she tells him that she was raped, but she doesn't tell him by who.
Yeah.
But because by this point, Shaki and Kishu have had, I think, a run in and had a fight and all that. But or maybe that's right after the scene. I think it's before the scene, at least their first run in. But
I don't think they fight. I think they argue.
have that confrontation where they like argue in the tavern, and then he goes outside and fights that other guy.
Yeah, that was before this.
Yeah, so he already knows Kishu's a bad guy and all this, but anyway. So then we roll around, and you know, Shaki is
Because they fight right before they go whaling.
Shaki at one point. I think it's before they get into a fight. They go because this is a Christian village. Christianity has come to this village. There is a priest in a church.
Yeah.
And they go to get the baby baptized. And Shaki, like Kishu, you know, I guess he knows it's his baby. He's kind of like stalking them.
He's
lingering around. And Shaki goes up and like he's like, look at my son. Isn't he smiling? And I think it's after that Kishu and him get into a fight over like killing the whale. And, you know, I couldn't really tell if at this point, and I think they leave it ambiguous right up until the very end of the movie where they spell it out for us. And we, you know, I don't know if I like that or not, but I was like, is Kishu like, you know, and of course it's really weird because especially in today's times, like there would be no redemption for the Kishu character. Like once you rape a woman, in a movie made today, you're obviously like a terrible person. And I'm not saying there is any like redemption. Obviously, that's terrible, and he's a terrible character. But like in today's movie, there would be no redemption arc for that kind of character. But back in the '60s, I mean, heck, and Clint Eastwood played. I think in Pale Rider? Clint Eastwood played the hero, and he raped a woman in that movie.
Yeah,
and he was the hero. But, so I couldn't tell if they were trying to like play it off like Kishu. Yeah, I mean he's being a jerk, but maybe he's fighting Shaki because he actually wants Shaki to live and stay at home and raise this baby. Like I said, you can't really tell at this point because he doesn't spell it out. Maybe he's just still being a jerk and just trying to want credit for killing the whale and to get the money and the and the woman and whatever
And land.
and
all
land
that.
and all that. But yeah, they get into a pretty vicious fight, and then they come to kind of a standstill and just agree to work it out on the sea the next morning. And Shockey's gone back to the village elder a couple times, and he's like, I'm not interested in your daughter. I just want to kill the whale.
Yeah.
And the village elder was not a big fan of that. But the village elder also, there was a thing with Toyo where she was mad at her father and was like, "You're so cruel," and
Yeah.
I don't want to be married off to Spearman or whatever.
And see,
He's like, well, if you don't have to worry about it, because whoever kills the whale is going to die too. So
Yeah.
so
and she
obviously,
was like, "You're so cruel.
you're so cruel, and then so he's like, but that's kind of his mentality too. Is he's so obsessed with this whale that he doesn't care who lives or dies. He just wants this whale dead.
Yeah.
And I think I kind of had a hard time getting a beat on the village elder too. Was he just kind of, did he just kind of want this whale out of the way so they could, get on with their normal whaling practices and he could continue making money or whatever? Or was he actually like with the villagers and like wanted to kill this whale because they had killed so many other people? But I think by the end of the movie, he is, again, a lot of the people, almost everybody in this movie is kind of morally gray.
Yeah.
But he is with the people. He's out there on those boats trying to kill this whale with everybody else.
He came out there on a boat. He was more dressed than the others. Though.
Yeah, he had a coat on, but he wasn't getting in that water. But but he does hold back Shockey at the end from trying to get on the whale too early. So I think he is supposed to be kind of a good guy and actually, cares about the village and stuff. But anyway, so yeah, this is the middle of the movie, and like I said, it's more of a drama, and you're exploring. It's kind of a character study with these people and how this whale and this obsession with this whale has affected their lives. At one point, their mother dies; she passes away,
and before she passed away, she was like, "Live until you die."
Yeah, she's like, "It's good to live until you die." So and I think at that point, and it's kind of a weird. You can kind of read that either way, and I was like, did she have a change of heart as she was dying? Did she want him to live a happy life before he died naturally? Or did she want him to... Shockey took it as, like, when he's talking to one of the other village elders later, who had survived the whale and the attack with his grandfather.
Yeah.
Shockey took it to mean that you have to do something big in your life, like kill the whale, so that you can die well.
Yeah.
Like you can't live a boring life or a safe life and then die a good death or whatever. But,
yeah.
I don't know if that's how his mother meant it or not. That's how he
took it.
I kind of wondered if, like, at the end, if she had a change of heart. And although she also tells him, I think, on her deathbed that he still needs to kill the whale. So maybe not. But he does go at one point to this, like I said, to a neighboring village where one of the other elders has ran off to in shame after surviving the whale attack. They killed his grandfather, and he again tries to talk him out of it. It's like, why are you people so obsessed with this whale? But in the end, he tells him there's no big secret to killing the whale other than you got to grab it by the nose and you got to hang on. Anyway, so yeah, so I like all this stuff. And at one point too, I think a big important scene is for Shockey's character development. And I think it's kind of the biggest, like, kind of realization that he has, or at least like moment of clarity that he has, is when his sister's boyfriend comes back. We assume that he's, a learned doctor now, and comes back to take the sister away. Yeah. Shockey, who had, when he left, had told him to go away and never come back. He now tells him, please take my sister away from here.
Yeah.
And make her happy. So he does have at least some clarity before he goes out.
He's not totally insane.
And part of it was because he, at this point, plans to die killing this whale.
Yeah.
And
he doesn't want her to be alone.
And I think that's part of the reason he took responsibility for that baby, is because he wanted, that baby, I guess, to have a proper family name and not grow up a bastard.
Yeah.
Knowing that he was going to die and he wasn't going to have to take care of it anyway. So, but
he was going to get out scot-free anyway.
He was going to get off scot-free anyway. I wonder if his widow got the village elder's title and wealth since he died. But
Probably not.
anyway, but about the last 20 minutes of this movie or so, we're gonna get to the big epic climax where the villagers, the village men, all get on their little whaling. You know, we think of whaling boats like modern day whaling boats, or even like you know, like we would think of like Moby Dick style whaling boats, like they were like big, you know, back then, like big, you know, wooden boats, almost like, you know, like a
Pirate
like a
ship.
pirate ship or something. Or today, where they're like big, you know, state of the art, like deadliest catch style, well, not deadliest catch cargo type ships, but you know, like
Yeah.
big metal ships. These are
Like
like
a-
little, what?
Like a ferry type thing.
Yeah, not that body style, but you know, like deadliest catch style, like, you know, ships that can move. These people in this little whaling village are basically on these little canoes, little skips, whatever you want to call them. And they have one guy in the back paddling it. And then they have like 4 or 5 people standing on top with, you know, the nets and the harpooner. They have a harpooner and all that. And so they go out and they're throwing the net over the whale and they're harpooning it. And Kishu, he, you know, the village elder tells him it's too early, but he dives overboard and gets on the whale and gets a harpoon and just starts stabbing it. And they say through dialogue it's a vital point. I don't know how you would know, but
Well,
just-
there's a lot of
there's
blood.
a lot of blood. There's a lot of blood spurting in this. It's in black and white, but he just starts stabbing the whale over and over. And
He gets trapped in the net.
he gets stuck in the net, and of course the whale dives and he drowns. But the whale comes back up, and the village elder had to hold Shaki back because Shaki wanted to go out and not let Kishu have the credit.
Yeah.
But then the village elder lets him go.
After they throw more spears and stuff at it.
Yeah, and the whale is weakened, and so he gets just like his big
Like a hunting knife.
hunting knife and gets on top of the whale on his nose and just starts stabbing it over and over.
Yeah.
And you know, the whale dies and comes back up, and
He doesn't die.
he doesn't die. He looks dead, but he comes back and
Starts stabbing it over again.
stabs it some more, and the whale does
Die.
die. Eventually, he had blood loss, I guess.
But you know, he's all wrapped up in the nets and all that.
Yeah, and they get back to shore, and you know, they wake up. He wakes up in the village elder's home, I guess,
Yeah.
and they tell him your arms and legs are broken.
And,
and,
you're, and
he's-
you probably done die.
He's like, "You're dying. I'm dying." And anyway, so you know, they argue back and forth, and you know, A's there, and she's really sad, and
his last.
he asks his final request is he wants to go to the beach because they've cut off the whale's head, and
Yeah.
you know,
Placed it the trophy on the beach.
yeah, and they've, you know, butchered it and all that. He wants to go to the beach and see the head of the whale god.
Mm-hmm.
And so after some arguing, they agree and take him. And then they're like, "Hey, by the way, we're gonna instead of just telling you you're dying, we're gonna bring a doctor tomorrow." And he's like, "Well, I'll be dead by sunset anyway, so don't worry about it." But I was like, "Are they really gonna kill him after all that?" But yeah, he does it on the beach, and this is where A tells him it was Kishu that raped me.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "I already knew." But and you know, and I talked about like as we were watching the finale play out, I was like, is Kishu doing this knowing he would die to give Shaki a chance at killing the whale and maybe live? And Shaki is going to spell it out for us here at the end that is what Kishu did. I think they could have left that kind of more ambiguous, but you know, I'm okay with it either way. And again, it kind of gives the Kishu a bit of a redemptive arc for a character that, like in modern day cinema, would never get a redemption arc.
No.
But and they also at one point cut to Kishu's body all alone, just kind of washed up on the shore with his tongue hanging out.
Yeah.
But you know, he has to be alone with the whale god's head, and so they leave him. And then you know, the ending is kind of odd, where I guess he kind of imagines himself being reincarnated as the whale god or something. But I think he just dies on the beach. But and then the final scene is like a vision of him like swimming out to sea as the whale.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Becoming
And,
the whale god.
yeah. The one thing that, I kind of thought the lesson that he would learn is that you don't want to continue to pass on this trauma. And I thought he would tell A, don't let my son be a whaler.
But nope.
Kind of like the Waylon Jennings song, don't let your
Sons grow up to be
sons
cowboys.
grow to be cowboys or whatever. Don't let my kid grow up to be a whaler. But no, he tells her as he's dying, make sure raise my son to be a strong whaler or whatever. I was like, well, I guess he really didn't learn his lesson, but
No,
I guess maybe they killed the dangerous whale and they can go back to regular whaling.
Yeah.
But anyway, she goes away and he has this little moment and he dies in the end. But yeah, that's the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I was kind of pleasantly surprised, I guess, to see that it wasn't just a straight up like retelling of Moby Dick. Like I thought it would be just like Moby Dick, but with
Japanese people.
with Asians, but
With Asians.
but no, they actually reimagined it quite a bit, and they made it more of a character, like I said, more of a drama, more of a character study about generational trauma than they did it about. It's not an adventure movie
No.
about hunting a whale, and the whale shows up at the beginning, the whale shows up at the end, but it's not. That's not really what the movie's about. It's about the trauma these people have faced because of this whale. And really not because of the whale so much as about their obsession with that whale.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it is kind of slow. It is, it's got some pacing issues, I think.
Yeah.
But, and I don't know that all the characters are fleshed out as much as they could have been. But, yeah, I think, it's a pretty well told drama, all in all.
It's not terrible.
It's not terrible. It's about 100 minutes, so
Yeah.
about the right length
Yeah.
for this kind of movie. It doesn't overstay its welcome, I don't think. But yeah, I thought it was a nice kind of it's different than what we've been reviewing for the last few weeks, and I
Yeah.
definitely appreciated that. More of a movie, if you know what I mean. But anyway, you want to talk about creature design?
Sure.
It's a whale.
It's a whale.
It more or less looks like a real whale. I mean,
A
it kind
wolf.
of, it has the big mouth with kind of the filament teeth,
Mm-hmm.
like the whale would have for
And the
filtering the
blowhole.
plankton through in the blowhole, and I don't know if it looks exactly like a right whale, but it looks like a whale.
Mhm.
And it's getting into effects. They do the best they can for a low budget 60s Dai movie. I mean, it's a
With
puppet.
Die film with financial issues.
Financial issues. Dai was in financial
Yeah.
straits at the time. It's it's obviously a puppet or a little model whale or whatever, but they film it in such a way that it never lingers on screen too long for you to be like, oh, that looks really terrible. Like, it's really a pretty rapid cut when the whale's coming
Yeah.
out of the water or ramming into people. And there are definitely scenes like where the little canoes are like little stick figures, but they film it usually kind of out of focus or in foggy, like when it's stick figures on little toy boats. They actually have the stick figures moving like back and
Yeah.
forth. And they film it either out of focus or from a distance or
Or
like
really-
foggy conditions.
Or really close up where you can't see
Where you
anything.
can't really it doesn't and it doesn't linger and you can't really, it's not super obvious. And I
It's
think,
like the camera's constantly moving
Yeah.
around.
I think they do a good job with that. I don't know. And then they actually film a lot of scenes with the people actually out on water. I don't know if
Yeah.
they were on like this is dive. I don't know if they were on like some kind of studio pool or if they were actually out on water, but these people out on boats on water and the way they cut it together with the models, I think it works pretty well. I
Yeah.
mean, like again, there's definitely cheesy sequences and you can definitely tell when it's a toy whale or toy boats or whatever, but it's not like Ultraman level,
There was no real whale.
No, obviously. No. It's not like Ultraman level, prolonged sequences of toys, going back and forth across the
No.
screen or whatever. But so I think they did the best with what they got, with what they had. I think the effects director, Chikara Komatsubara, sorry,
Did a pretty good job.
I think he did a pretty good job considering what his budget probably was. And keeping the tone serious without it getting, too cheesy.
Yeah.
And then of course score. It's a Fukube. It's got that classic Fukube sound, and I think it works. I think the music is somber when it needs to be. Like a lot of this movie is not, like I said, an act. Like the Fukube is usually very bombastic, and when monsters are on screen, he's got those horns blaring and all that. This is not really that kind of movie. I mean, yes, the music ramps up when the whale's on screen during the whaling scenes, but during the drama moments, I think his music matches the mood very well too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not his best score, not his most memorable score by any means, but it definitely functions. Agree?
Agreed.
Agree. But yeah, and I do want to say, I want to go back a little bit. I do want to say, I think the acting in this movie is very well
Oh yeah.
done. I mean, obviously, like I said, Takashi Shimura is a real A+ actor and everything that he's
He's
in.
a real actor.
I mean, I just watched the other night. I was watching what's Ikiru or whatever that that one Kurosawa movie is, where he plays like the government official who tries to get the park built as he's dying or whatever. And he is amazing in that movie. Of course, Seven Samurai and all that kind of stuff. He's amazing in. And Godzilla, of course, he's amazing in that movie. And he's pretty good as the village elder here. I don't think there's not as much dramatic weight on him as in some of those other roles I mentioned.
No.
But he does a good job. And then I actually thought Kojiro Hongo was really good in this movie. He's in several Gamera movies where he's not asked to be a very dramatic actor.
Yeah.
They try to have some dramatic scenes in Gamera versus Barugon with him, I think, but this is more, like I said, like a drama, kind of in the sense of some of those, not on the scale, the quality of a Kurosawa movie, obviously, but kind of more in line and tone with some of it, like a Kurosawa movie or something. And I thought he was really good in this role. And I thought the guy playing Kishu was pretty. I mean, he's definitely like over the top evil drunk man at times, but I thought he was very good as Kishu and playing that character. And I thought the female actresses A and Toyo were also really good in their roles, and the younger sister.
Yeah.
But yeah, you want to get into some final thoughts?
Sure.
We'll go for it.
Well, like Aaron said, this movie, it's good for what it's made with. They were in financial strength at the time. They couldn't afford anything too expensive or too expansive. They couldn't even afford color film at the time.
Yeah.
They had to film it on black and white stuff. But with what they had, they did a pretty good job. With it, the well looks pretty decent for what they saw of it. The acting is good, the effects are good. All the drama plays out. I like all the drama decently. Some of the time, like we said, the time is not very well received.
Yeah, the passage of time.
Passage of time is not
kind
very
of
well
awkward.
received.
The editing's kind of awkward in that sense. For
It's
sure.
just like you're in one time and the scene just fades, and you're like,
several months later, and you're like,
it just doesn't even say anything, and you just hit hints that it's not the same period of time that you were just in.
Yeah.
They just cuts to them walking into their local bar tavern thing, and you just how long has it been since
yeah.
that other scene? And and all that. But besides that, it's a pretty good film. Effects and all that are good. Acting, score, pretty good. It's Akira Fukube. It would not be bad.
Yeah, I'm not gonna complain about that ever, but
but I think I'll give this movie a C+.
A C+. Okay, yeah. Listen, if you want an action adventure movie about whalers fighting a giant whale, this is not really the movie for you. I mean, there is that at the very beginning, and then there's a pretty extended sequence at the end. But this movie is mostly a character study, mostly a drama. And, I appreciate that. We needed a kind of a change of pace, I think, compared to some of the movies we've been doing recently. And And I like an old school Japanese drama as much as the next guy, probably more than most people, but probably. But and I really did appreciate that. And like I said, I thought the acting was very good. I thought the themes were very good. I really appreciated the characters, and I thought, effects wise, they did the best they could. Yes, it's obvious at times that it's a toy well or toy boats, but I thought that they edited those scenes pretty well together to where it was exciting and never took you out of the movie for being too cheesy or anything. And maybe a little too much scantily clad men running around in loincloths,
Speedo looking thing
with their butt cheeks hanging out a lot. But that is part of the that's what they wore. It's period piece accurate, I'm sure. But
yeah.
Yeah, it's got a bit of pacing issues, I think. It does get kind of slow there in the middle at times. And I do think the editor could have worked harder to kind of help us a little more with the passage of time. I think there are a couple scenes where you're like, wait a second, how much time has passed?
Like when she had her contractions, like it's already been 9 months.
Yeah, it's like she has the baby in the next scene, like they're having sex, and you're like, how long has it been since she had that baby? But and there was one other scene I thought was like, how long has it been since that happened? But no, overall, I mean, it's again, if you like old school Japanese dramas, I think this is a pretty good one, and I'm surprised that it took this long to kind of get rediscovered. And I also have to compliment SRS Cinema. This is a beautiful transfer of this movie. They did a really good job on that. For a movie so obscure, for them to be able to get this kind of restoration is really impressive, and I do appreciate that. So yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it, and like I said, I mean, if you're looking for just like a kaiju romp, it's not going to be for you. But if you're willing to kind of have some patience and enjoy it as a drama, as a more of an artsy piece, I definitely think it would work, and I'm gonna give it a B.
All right.
So yeah. But anyway, you want to talk about a little bit of news I've got?
Sure.
Well, Godzilla Final Wars is getting a 4K restoration, and it's going to get its theatrical debut at Beyond Fest in California on October 3rd.
Wow.
So if any people out there listening are going to Beyond Fest, check that out. I would like for them to give it a wide theatrical release through, Fathom events or something, and I'd go watch it, but we'll have to see. I did want to bring up, we've been watching Dawn to Dawn. And the last couple episodes have featured a kaiju that looks very reminiscent of Red King from Ultraman.
Yeah.
And Dawn to Dawn has had a lot of aliens and stuff that are definitely inspired by Ultraman aliens. But these last couple episodes were very kaiju specific. And so if you haven't checked out Dawn to Dawn, it's on the second season right now. It's a really good anime, and it's, like I said, got a lot of throwbacks, a lot of homages to kaiju. It's had a lot of homages to Ultraman, like I said, and there's definitely an episode that has a big homage to Shin Godzilla 2. So, in the first season. So, the creators are definitely part of the fandom. So, I would definitely recommend checking that out on Crunchyroll.
Or Netflix.
Is it on Netflix too?
It's on Netflix.
It's also on Netflix. There you go. So, and then I wanted to make a schedule update. A couple episodes ago, or last episode, I don't remember, I said that we had caught up to Ultraman shows, but our next movie would have to be Ultraman Blazar. Well, silly me, we've actually already reviewed the Blazar movie. I got kind of confused because Decker did air before Blazar, but
The movie
Mill
came
Creek released Blazar before it released Decker. And so we saw the Blazar movie first, and actually already reviewed it about a year ago. But but Ultraman Arc is getting its Mill Creek release in October. We have not seen that movie yet. I know that for a fact. And so I put Blazar back on the schedule accidentally, but I replaced it with Ultraman Arc. So Ultraman Arc, the movie, The Clash of Light and Evil, or whatever it's called, will be on our schedule. I think December 10th is what I got it currently scheduled for. So a little while out, but yeah.
But yeah.
But other than that, let me pull up the schedule just to make sure I get this right. To see what we got coming up.
What is our next movie?
I think we got a couple more SRS Cinema movies coming up. So
We've been doing a lot of those here lately.
bear with me. Next week is The Great Buddha Arrival.
Oh boy.
Followed by The Monster Seafood Wars.
Oh yeah.
Followed by The Calamari Wrestler. So that will be, those are the 3 SRS Cinema releases. And those will be our next 3 movies. And then after that, we'll do Alligator 2, Jason and the Argonauts, and then another SRS Cinema, that lost Korean movie from the 60s, Space Monster Wong Mogwi.
Oh,
and then,
yeah.
Godzilla's Birthday, I've talked about it. We're going to review the American cut, Godzilla 1985, then the Sinbad trilogy, and then I put Ultraman Arc on the schedule. And then if it's still coming out around Christmas, the last review this year will be Anaconda, and I've got a couple of blank weeks there I need to fill in. But that new Anaconda reboot with Jack Black and Paul Rudd.
Oh boy.
So yeah, that's what we got to look forward to for the rest of the year. But other than that, I think that's it.
That's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it. So, as always, don't forget that you can always contact us at stompthisway@1954@gmail.com.
You can find our website at www.stompthisway.wordpress.com.
And you can find us on Facebook at Stomp This Way. And next week, Great Buddha Arrival. It will be our first time watching it, so excited about that, I think.
Maybe.
But other than that, I'm Aaron.
I'm Andrew.
And we will see you next time.